Hey y'all, what's good? And welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to all of my subscribers. I appreciate you guys so much. Let's remember to have healthy dialogue, be respectful to ourselves and to each other, and to challenge the argument and not the person. Let's get it. On August 23rd, 2023, Kevin Franke arrived at the police station for questioning. These are excerpts from his interview. Lieutenant Studley and I met with Kevin Franke in regard to his involvement with the condition of his children, Child 2 and Child 1. Mr. Franke was read his Miranda rights. Mr. Franke informed us he understood his rights and was willing to speak with us. His interview was audio and video recorded and is summarized as follows. Kevin stated he was currently married to Ruby Franke, but they separated July 25th, 2023, and he has not seen his children since. Mr. Franke stated he did not treat his wife right and had a struggle with corn addiction, which led to them separating with a verbal non contact order. Mr. Franke informed me there was no court paperwork, but he and Ruby agreed that he would not contact her or the kids. Mr. Franke informed me he had heard from Ruby approximately 4 times since the separation. He stated he loves his wife and family and every morning sees their picture and makes the commitment to be better for his family to end up back with them. Mr. Franke stated he supported his family financially. He also said that he works full time and his money goes into a joint account which Ruby pulls to support the family. Mr. Franke informed us he received a phone call to come to the Santa Clara Ivans Police Department to pick up his kids. Mr. Franke would not share who contacted him. He said that he was aware that his wife, Ruby Franke, was in business with Jody Hildebrandt and that they ran a podcast together called Connections. Mr. Franke stated he watched the podcast weekly and enjoyed the content. Mr. Franke stated he trusts and values Jody Hildebrandt and her perspective. He informed us his older son, Chad Franke, met with Jody previously via Zoom for counseling. Mr. Franke informed us he believed those meetings with Jody were beneficial. He also stated that he did not have knowledge of any other kids meeting with Jody. Mr. Franke believed that Ruby Franke and the kids were still living in the residence in Springville. Mr. Franke stated he was not aware of the kids living with Jody as he had not spoken with them or seen them in a year. He went on to inform the police that the last time he saw Child 2, she had long hair and was very talkative. Mr. Franke stated the last time he saw Child 1, he wasn't necessarily chubby, but definitely wasn't skinny. Mr. Franke described him as normal. Mr. Franke stated he completely trusts and loves his wife, Ruby Franke. He went on to say that he still wants to end up with his wife. So, with this knowledge, he just can't believe it and feels like it can't be true. Mr. Franke stated because he trusts his wife in the care of their children, he doesn't want to say anything that could incriminate her or him. Mr. Franke informed the police that they were scrutinized for neglect before on YouTube with their 8 passengers account. Mr. Franke stated that this was because one of their sons, Chad Franke, took to social media to discuss how he slept on a beanbag for 8 months. Mr. Franke stated these allegations were not true and it never happened. Lieutenant Studley and I were present while DCFS notified Mr. Franke that the 4 minor children, which are redacted, Child 1 and Child 2, were being taken into Child Protective Services. I observed Mr. Franke to be emotional while receiving this news. Mr. Franke responded that it was time to get his kids back into his custody and take them back to his home to care for them.
But I am entertaining the Miranda rights before we start. We're just kind of ask you a few questions about your involvement. Okay. So first, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in the court of law. Okay. You have the right to an attorney or to have him or her present while questioning. If you cannot afford to hire one, One will be hired to represent you. If you decide to answer questions, you can stop at any time. Okay? Do you understand your rights?
I do.
Okay. Do you wish to speak to me now?
Well, I want to pick up my kids.
How about this? We're going to ask you some questions, and if you don't want to answer them, you just say, hey man, I'm not going to answer that.
Sure.
And
But just say, hey, I'm not going to talk, that's not beneficial to you, and then we're done, you're nowhere, and we're nowhere, and
Sure.
you understand that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so just for starters, what was your full name?
Kevin William Franke.
How to spell that?
KEVINWILLIAMFRANKE.
And what's your date of birth? What's a good address for you?
I'm not comfortable giving my address right now.
Okay. But you do live in Springville?
I do.
How long have you lived in Springville for?
I moved there in 2007 with my family, so
Okay.
was
And
there
how many-
17 years.
17. And how many kids do you have, Kevin?
I have 6 kids.
And what are their names? I can't remember.
Some of them are teenagers, 2 adults.
So are they all living with you, or
No, I haven't seen them for over a year.
any of them?
No, none of them.
For a year.
Over a year.
Okay.
I've been in a separation
From who?
from my wife and family.
What's your wife's name?
Ruby.
Ruby. When's the last time you saw Ruby?
The last time I saw her
Yeah.
was the 18th of this month. We met to, she requested me to sign over vehicles, or the titles to the vehicles, the vehicle that she drives, that were all in my name.
When's the last time you physically saw?
The day that I moved out, July 24th, 2022.
24th of 2022.
Or July 25th, July 25th.
So it's my understanding that at least home here in Kayenta and Ivans, have you been to that home?
No.
You've not been to that home?
No, I don't know. I don't know what's anything that's been going on.
Like, this is good, man. Like, I would love to be able to help you out with this, and like, I'm seeing the light of being in that home because I'm unaware of your involvement in what's really going on. So for you to say that you're unaware of the status of your kids kind of makes, I know that sounds kind of crummy to you, but it sounds kind of good to me. Like, who lives in that home with your, is it ex-wife? Is it currently a separated wife? Like, who lives in that home with your children?
To be honest, I don't know. I know that she's there with 4 of the children, and our 2 older children have moved out.
They're not at your home in Springville? And I'm not trying to trip you up. I can see you're hesitant to talk to me. I understand that.
Well, where I live, no,
Yeah.
I haven't seen them for over a year.
Okay. That's tough. I can only imagine how that feels, man. I got kids. And not have seen them for that long, that would tear a little piece of my heart out.
Of age to drive. Does she drive?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't know nothing that's going on.
So-
in their lives or anything going on.
How did you find out that you needed to come here to 55 North Main Street?
I received a message that I needed to come pick up my kids from the police department in Highlands.
And who was that message from?
Well, I prefer not to say right now.
It would just help us a lot.
I'm trying to figure out who reached out to you because it makes sense that that would happen. I'm just not aware of anyone who did that from our department.
Right. And I'm not comfortable saying right now who reached out to me.
Okay.
Okay.
So, you haven't seen any of your kids in over a year, you said?
That's correct.
And then, how old last time you saw her? Okay, how old is she now?
15.
She's 16. Okay. And then when all the kids left, Ruby took all of them?
Yeah, she stayed in the house and I moved up.
Okay. And did you ever try to reach out to the kids, drop by the home, or
No.
was
I
there?
honored the no separation boundary that we agreed to.
So, what
Or
was
no
your separation?
contact boundary, excuse me.
Did you have a no contact order in place?
Order? No, this was between my wife and I.
So, what did Ruby ask of you when you separated?
What did she ask of me?
Did she ask you not to contact the kids?
Ruby invited me to leave the home while I thought about the choices that I've made in my life and the way that I've treated her.
Okay.
And so I left.
And how long had you and Ruby been married before?
We were married in 2000.
So, about 22 years?
When we separated, we were going on 22 years. Yes.
Okay. And during your marriage, how was disciplining your kids? How would you discipline your kids?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, that's fine.
Have you been since separated or since they lived here in the city of Ivans? Have you communicated with your wife regarding like disciplining with your kids or their care or their physical well-being?
No.
So is she doing this on her own and just telling you how your kids are?
She's not telling me anything about the kids.
Who's this female Jody that your wife lives with? Do you know a female named Jody?
She is a therapist and a life coach, I know. And she's...
Do you respect her?
Do I respect her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she's a very honest, truthful person, yes.
Okay. You place value on Jody?
I don't know what that means.
Like, do you value what she says and how she treats? Is your wife a client of hers? Is your wife a partner of hers? Is your wife a roommate with her? Your kids are living in her house is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not aware of that, but I know that they've been in business for the last year filming.
Who's they?
Ruby and Jody. They
Ruby
film
and Jody have been in
they
business.
film podcasts, and so every week a podcast goes up and I listen to it. And
What's the name of it?
Connections with an X.
Like CON.
CONNEXIONS. Yeah.
And like, do you support them in that role in doing that and having?
Do I support them in the business?
Yeah, like do you support them and think that what they're doing is a good thing, or
Yeah, I support their business efforts. I think it's a good thing.
are you involved with their business efforts, or?
No.
Okay. So just Ruby and Jody. No
In
Kevin.
the business?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And were you involved in the 8 passengers account with your family?
Yes. I was in the videos, and if that's what you mean.
I briefly learned about this 2 hours ago.
So, did Ruby more so do the videos for the family? And how long did you guys do that for?
She started the channel in 2015, and as far as I'm aware, from the time I left, the last video she uploaded was towards the end of 2021.
Okay.
And again, I'm not aware of anything she's done since our separation. I don't visit 8 passengers anymore.
Chapter of your life that's gone.
It's a past chapter, yeah.
So how do you and Ruby communicate? Just through text, phone call?
Through text, and if there's anything considered an emergency, we agreed that we would communicate through a phone call.
Okay. And do you know her phone number off the top of your head?
The top of my head, no.
Okay. No worries. So how often would you guys communicate while she was down here?
Well, I don't know how often or long she was down here. We've communicated maybe 4 times in 2023 since January.
So are you aware of how she disciplines the kids or how she handles
No,
the kids with behavioral issues or anything like that?
no,
So you're unaware of how she does that?
yes,
Okay. Are you aware of the physical condition of your children?
no. No, I've chosen to trust my wife with the children. That was part of the agreement of our separation.
Is that you allow her to physically provide for the needs of the child? You're just removed from that? I mean, you pay support. I know this is personal questions, but
No, yes, my job is to financially provide for them.
I'm just trying to figure out like how much of a role do you play in the caretaking of specifically of those 2 kids?
I pay the bills.
Okay.
With my job, I provide the money, goes into a shared bank account, and that's my only involvement.
Okay. There's a whole bunch of things I want to talk to you about, but I still can't get over the fact that someone notified you to come here to pick up your kids. My guess is, was that Jody?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay.
All I'll say is,
Well,
someone
you said you
notified
trusted her. You said that you think that she's not necessarily. I asked you if you placed value on her, but you obviously.
she is an honest. I know her to be an honest and a trustworthy individual, and so yeah, I trust her. And I received a communication that and so I left immediately from my job and drove down here. That's all I know. I've come to pick up my kids and to take them home with me.
Is there custodial paperwork that says that you're like a... There's no custodial paperwork denying you of rights, correct?
There's no custodial paperwork at all.
Period. So the kids are yours.
They are mine.
Okay.
Legally, yes. This was just a verbal agreement between my wife and I when we separated last year.
Well, what questions do you have?
Oh, I want to know what's going on and why I was asked to come down and pick up my 2 kids.
Well,
And a lot of that kind of hinges on who asked you, because if we had been the one, like, I'm not going to say you fibbed, but I'm confident a cop didn't call you because we wouldn't have wanted you down here at this point in our investigation. So, having said that, I think it's time we be honest with you, right?
Sure. No, and I didn't lie.
You're
Someone contacted me, but I don't want to
You said
say
someone
without
from your office, but okay.
well, I don't recall saying someone from my office.
Our office.
No.
someone, yeah, so we don't know who called you. So
That's right.
if we knew who called you, then we could help you,
It would make more sense.
but
Well, I don't know the legal ramifications of implicating individuals who contacted me. And so without a lawyer here, I don't want to answer that question.
that's okay.
I
But
appreciate
you want to know specifics of the case, which we can't share right now because it's under investigation. So
I see.
Yeah, so we would like to ask questions about where you found out, but we'll respect that if you don't want to share that information. But I am curious, when you guys had the previous 8 Passengers YouTube channel, you guys got a lot of heat for neglect and child abuse. A lot of people commented those things on there. Why were they commenting those things?
That's a good question. We had a son who was acting out in very selfish behavior. And none of this is strange or odd. You could get on YouTube and find out all sorts of stuff on this.
It's like a double-edged sword.
The question is, what do you believe, right? There was even an article written in Newsweek magazine in 2020 on it, was it Newsweek? No, Business Insider, where we were interviewed, and we were pretty straightforward, and we talked about it, and we shared our piece in that. Basically, it boils down to he was being very cruel and mean to his siblings that he shared a room with, and so we removed him from the room. And we said, you can sleep anywhere you want. Sleep on the couch, sleep on the pull-out bed, sleep on the floor for all we care, but you're not sleeping in that room with your brother. He chose to sleep on a beanbag. So 9 months later, he had made a lot of changes in his life. And he was ready to, and we had moved by that time. And so we had a new house, and he was ready to move into his own bedroom. Made a video about it. And in the video, he mentioned something to the effect of, I've been sleeping for 9 months on a beanbag. And that is what all the uproar was about.
What did you guys do to help, like, with his behavioral issues? Is that something you and Ruby talked about together? And then did you helping you discover yourself and fix behavioral issues and things like that? Is that something you and Ruby sought out to help correct, like, some of the things?
Yes,
Okay.
And I supported it, and so together we held boundaries for our son to support his choosing honest and responsible choices. And when he chose honest and responsible choices consistently is when he began to get his privileges back. And that was
parenting, right?
Well, that was the uproar, right?
Yeah.
And so, but yes, through 2000. Contact with him because I'm honoring the no contact separation boundary with that I agreed to with my wife, but I understand that he's 18, living on his own somewhere in Provo and working and supporting himself.
What other kids went down to visit Jody?
What other kids?
Yeah, did you send any of the other kids down to spend time with Jody?
We didn't send down to spend time with Jody. They would meet on Zoom.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in spring stuff. Well, even in 2019, she would meet with them.
So when did Ruby and Jody, to your knowledge, like, decide to collaborate, come together, and mesh lives? Because that's what's happened.
Well, they decided to start a business in 2021.
So while you and Ruby were together.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but there were, at that period it was pretty nebulous. I don't know.
What's that word mean?
It was just a lot of talk, and there weren't like solid plans. It was, let's start by doing podcasts together, and then that's all I know. I know that they published a book together recently. You can find it on Amazon. It's not a secret.
Was business thriving? Like life was good between those two?
Well, not that I was aware.
Well, at some point, and again, I'm not digging into your life, but I'm trying to understand this. At some point,
We took,
they kick you out.
when you talk about a business, thriving, in terms of business and money, when we stopped 8 passengers on YouTube, we lost 90% of our income. So to say that business was thriving, in my perspective, no.
Got it.
I don't think it ever was after that.
Was that part of your guys' reason for separation after you guys ended 8 passengers?
Was that part of the reason? The reasons are because of ways that I treated my wife, and some of my own addictions that I was working through and seeking help on with pornography.
Thank you for sharing that.
And I've made some wonderful progress.
Like, is that something you came to the realization that you needed help and weren't doing things right, or is that something that like Jody helped you guys recognize that maybe Ruby needed more? I'm trying to understand her involvement in your guys' life. She's my focus, just to be honest.
I understand, and I can perceive that. Jody and Ruby have a close relationship, and Jody saw the need for me to get help, and frankly, I agree. The space has been exactly what I need to face, my own addictions and receive the support and help that I've needed. And so this space has been very, very good for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when you stated that you and Ruby had this no contact that you guys just verbally agreed upon, was that an idea given by Jody that she recommended you guys have that space and not contact one another?
I'm not aware of that. The invitation for me to leave and take space was from my wife.
Okay.
But that was while Jody and Ruby were friends and collaborating and doing podcasts and
Sure.
Well, you're the custodial parent of these children. I don't see why we can't explain to you why we're involved. So I don't recall the exact time, but sometime before 11 o'clock today, we received a phone call from 911 on our dispatch that a 12 to 13-year-old boy was knocking on doors in a neighborhood asking for food and water, that he was severely emaciated, that he had...
What does emaciated mean?
Skinny, scrawny, malnutritioned, not enough food, not enough water to sustain life. So he had...
I'm sorry, what?
He had duct tape on his extremities, on his hands, on his ankles, and those were covering rope burns that were used to tie him down. Take a second and think about what I just said. That's the condition of your son. Given that information, your son was taken to the hospital. A warrant has been applied and granted by the Department of Child and Family Services to remove both from your wife's care. So no one right now is going to have access to these two children based on their physical condition. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Would you condone that behavior?
Would I condone that behavior?
That's my job. My job is to find out your knowledge of the treatment of these
Based on your
precious
description,
children.
no. But again, I don't know the details, or I don't know what's going on. But as you described that sounds
Horrible. Disgusting. No human being should be treated like that.
Okay.
That's my thoughts. But again, we might be different on that. We're going to let you sit here for a second, okay? We're going to go out and talk. I'm not saying you're still not free to go. Are you under arrest? Absolutely not. We just have lots of questions that we need to figure out. Lots. Okay?
Okay, because...
Your children are under medical care right now.
And what does that mean?
And it means that you don't have access to them. My understanding is that they are... What is that?
They're in the custody of DCFS.
And they will be for the next 70...
There's a medical hold on them right now. So for at least the next 72 hours, based on our understanding.
At least the next 70.
They're in observation. They're being watched.
DCFS is going to provide you that information, and they can better answer your questions along those lines. That's handled through them. Okay? So we'll be back.
So I want you to think about some things, though.
I don't know.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I want you to think about that for a minute. I have no idea where they're at.
Well, I don't either. But,
Okay, we're going to hop out here. We'll be back in a minute, okay? That's still recording audio and video, okay? So if you would, don't make any phone calls.
sure. What's going to happen to my wife? I love my wife.
I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I don't know. Haven't had an interview with
I
you
don't
yet.
have those charges against my wife.
Possibly. I think given the circumstances, that's highly appropriate. But again, I don't know your wife. I was hoping to gain some insight from you, but I don't necessarily know that that's something you wanted to,
I trust her,
a road you wanted to travel down with me, so.
and not without legal representation.
Yeah, alright, I get it.
But I love my wife, and I trust my wife. And so, I mean, this feels like getting run over by a steam truck, what you're sharing with me today.
Yeah, I can tell you're caught off guard.
I thought I was just coming here to pick up my kids, and for what, I don't know what or why, but... And I was planning on taking them back with me, and just...
I mean, I'd love to have a candid conversation with you, I just don't know how it's going to be received by you. I don't know you, but I can tell you my perception of how this happened.
Well... I'm
Whether you value that or not, it's...
Look, I'm interested in facts, but again, at the same time, I'm interested in all the facts.
But you understand our facts. Our facts are that you have a child that is emaciated, malnutrition, and has marks. I didn't spend any time with her. Sergeant Tobler did.
Did any of you spend time with her?
He didn't spend
I
time with
have
her.
not.
She went to. She was requested to go to the hospital along with, based on their condition.
Folks, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to... You realize that I have a picture of my family on my wall, and I look at it every day, and I work every day, so I can get back to my family and save my family. And everything you're sharing to me just sounds like a made-up story. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, it's just, it sounds like a horror movie. And I get you're all doing your jobs. I get it. I understand. And this is my life. I just want my kids. I just want my kids. I just want my family.
We want to have your family.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know why these things that you described happen. I don't know. It's almost like I want to say, I'm sorry, you must have somebody else. Because it's like, am I in the right conference room here? No. That's what I feel like. It's real. You know, I'm having a hard time accepting this and dealing with this. I mean, you're telling me that you're taking my kids from me. Like, we need to transfer the titles of the car to my name, you know, or we're going to cancel these credit cards and stuff like that. So just stuff related to the finances really is our only communications over the past year.
Sure.
We've had zero communications regarding the kids.
Okay.
I've had no reason to believe or think that there was anything going on for all intents and purposes, I woke up this morning looking at the picture of my family and making my commitment today, as I do every day, that I'm going to live an honest, a virtuous, and a responsible life today. And what you're sharing with me just feels like a sucker punch.
And just imagine. Brianna, do you have questions?
So,
Okay.
If I still have a family,
Yeah.
and I just I don't know what my plan. My plan is to go to God
Sure.
and to figure this out.
Right.
And I am just heartbroken what you all are sharing with me. And I feel responsible. Separating, leaving. It hurts. And I wish I was a better husband. I know you're all doing your jobs. And I know you all have the best interests of my kids in mind. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That means a lot.
I just want my kids back. I want my family back. I want my wife back. Okay.
I don't want this to sound rude, Kevin. We've got some things to do. We're not kicking you out, but the building's closed.
I need to go.
Okay. You're gonna be okay driving home? I really am worried about you. Okay. Do your best. Breathe. Gotta pull over the side of the road. Do you drink Red Bulls?
you want your water to go, Kevin?
I have water.